All right, we're back. Sorry for the rest of the day, and it looks like Wesleyan is up on a couple of seats, but it's still a pretty close race. Both boats seem to be staying in lanes. And today we've got a little bit of a tailwind, so that means the boats will be going a little bit faster than they might usually be. But sometimes it does make it harder for boats to get their blades in the water, so you definitely have to keep your technical skills. Yeah, it looks like Wesleyan is still pulling ahead a couple of seats. But things could definitely change in this last 800 of the race. Now, usually I think at least most Tufts athletes, once they hit the dock, they know that this is the last couple hundred meters of the race, so they just start pushing, and it's pretty exciting to be in those boats, and especially at home races and today's senior day. I think all the seniors are feeling pretty nostalgic. Wow, Coach Andy just told me that Tufts and Wesleyan times were half a second on the women's side. It's pulling ahead now of Wellesley. And at the end of the course, we have our Coach Ethan and Coach Pete doing the timing. Very grateful for them. They're there all day, standing out in the cold weather. It's actually a pretty nice day today. The temperature isn't bad, but as the women's head coach, Lily Carbeck, likes to say, the launch is the coldest place on earth, so you always got to layer up. Looks like Wellesley might be a little bit to their port of the lane, but that shouldn't inhibit any racing, so they should be okay. Usually the rule is as long as it doesn't inhibit any racing, if they're a little bit outside of their lane, it's okay, but sometimes the winds can get a little bit crazy that you really got to keep your lane straight, be pretty technical about it. Don't think we've had too bad of crashes on this course, but I'm only a junior, so maybe before I got here there were some pretty brutal ones. We do have a pretty protected area, though, on this Malden River. It's really nice. It's really only the Tufts team rowing here, and got Wentworth on the other side, and it's a pretty large area to row, and you can go up all the way to the farthest marina with a 8 boat, and that's about 5,000 meters from our dock, and then you come down. So it's a pretty nice course to be able to row for these Tufts athletes. I know especially the water's pretty protected, so the wind isn't too bad, at least not as bad as it can definitely get on the Charles. I mean, I know those teams that row in the basin have pretty brutal winds sometimes, but that's part of rowing for sure, is handling those rough conditions, especially once we get to our NESCAC, NIRCs, NERCs races at Lake Quincy. Those can be quite the rough conditions, and it definitely depends on what lane you're in. If you're in an inside lane, depending on the wind, you might get a little bit of more protection, which means it's easier for your coxswain to keep a straight line, which is often pretty helpful. Now you see the Tufts 1V getting out of their boat, looking pretty happy about their race results. Excited for them for sure. Coxswain Hannah Jang is definitely proud of her crew. I'm sure the fans up there are happy. Now in this 2V on the Tufts side, seniors in the boat, we've got Amanda Downing, and we have, I believe we have Margot Durfee stroking the boat, which is exciting for her, and Riley Uterwick sitting behind her in 7th seat. Yeah, it looks like a pretty close race. Got Coach Julia Walters following them right now. Looks also close in proximity. Their oars look pretty tight together, but coxswain Maddie Rosado will definitely make sure her crew gets the advantage. Now in the Tufts 2V, we've got, Margot Durfee stroking the boat, Riley Uterwick in 7th seat, Julia Zappoli behind her in 6, Hadley Keefe in 5, Lucy Howell in 4, Eva Schmidt, another senior from New York City, Amanda Downing, and Sydney Barr. Now, Sydney Barr is the only freshman in that boat. Pretty exciting for her. And we've got the Bates 2V as well. It looks like Tufts is about 3 seats ahead of them right now. Could be 4. Now, actually, Maddie Rosado is another freshman in that boat. It's my mistake. We've got some Tufts fans. Really excited for them. Ringing those cowbells. That's a pretty common those crews. Now that Tufts boat is locked in, ready to go. Look at that focus. See the fans cheering for them. Oh, wow, I think we've got some fans with letters on their backs. Now that's pretty funny. I haven't seen that before. Also got some Bates fans on the shore. Yeah, that Tufts boat looks great. Blade's getting in the water. Same for Bates. Bates is looking pretty good. Now it's pretty great conditions, I've got to say. Looks like we've got a bit of a headwind now for these crews, which means it's actually a little bit easier to get their blade in, but it does make the times a little bit slower. So sometimes these results times can be a little bit relative because you never know what the weather conditions are like. So you have to keep that in mind for sure. Coxswain Maddie Rosado is doing a great job of keeping her line, staying in her lane. Bates is definitely putting up a fight. Now, as we get into this last 300, I'm sure both boats will start their sprints. I believe this is the Wellesley 2V here. Paddling it up to the dock after their race. It'll be exciting to see those race results for Tufts. Feel the sun coming out, so that's exciting. So we've got 13 viewers. Glad to have you guys with us. I know it's hard to make it to all these races, especially if you're from outside Massachusetts, so I'm glad that we were able to do this for everyone. And next weekend, the Tufts teams will be rowing out of WPI, and those races are always live streamed, so that will be exciting to be able to watch those as well. And usually they have pretty good commentary. Gary Caldwell, actually a previous member of the Tufts rowing family, is a common commentator for that race, and he's always got some great things to say about the Tufts teams. And yeah, it's exciting spring to have some great racing. Last weekend, a bit of bad weather. We had some bit of rain, cold wind, so this is definitely a nice change for sure. You can see the water's pretty glassy. Not common for a lake in Massachusetts, I would say. Now next up, we've got the women's 3v8s coming down. Same order. We have Wellesley and Wesleyan coming down first, and then Tufts and Bates coming down second. And here is the first round of that race. Looks like Wesleyan is in inside and Wellesley is on the outside lane. Looks like Wellesley's a little bit ahead of Wesleyan right now, but still pretty close. These races are definitely exciting. It's exciting when two crews are close, but it is fun when one crew pulls ahead by a lot for sure. Looks like they're getting a little bit too close together. Oars might be touching.
Make sure we get good lines on the gates here. Stay in our lanes.
Reminding them to stay in their lanes. Yep, and there goes Coach Julia as well, giving them a good reminder. Yeah, I can feel that sun come out. Looks like a nice summer day right now. Clouds are parting. Here we've got another Tufts men's boat launching off a dock. That looks to be the 2V boat on the men's side. Actually, I believe it's a 3V. Lucas Resnick coxing that boat, freshman. Wellesley's pulling ahead. Got some Wesleyan crews cheering for their teams, as well as Wellesley crews. Yeah, the Wellesley coxswain could get a little bit over to her port side more, but the Wesleyan also has plenty of room to get over. Hopefully these crews stay in their lines and don't end up colliding.
Wellesley, you keep drifting to starboard.
And you can actually see the coxswain's lines as behind their boats. The Wesleyan line just beginning to turn, so you can see that in their teammates' competition. Pretty happy. Everyone waving. What was the result of the 2V race? The women? Okay. Yeah. These crews are staying pretty close together. Yeah, it looks like the Wellesley coxswain needs to get over again.
Wellesley, stay towards port. Wellesley, stay to port.
Oh, now that looks like there's a big cloud coming in. I'd cover up the sound a little bit.
And Tufts beat baits by 5 seconds.
5 seconds, nice. That's a pretty good margin usually in rowing. The 1V beat their baits competition by half second. So hopefully those margins get larger and larger as we get to our following races. We have the Tufts 3V coming up. We've got launching right now. Yep. As the women's 2V boat gets their oars out of the water. Looks like we have even more Tufts rowing fans coming to. Looks like we have even more Tufts rowing fans coming to the race. It's getting pretty crowded. All right, here comes the 3V races. Looks like this is on the inside lane, pulling pretty far ahead of baits right now. Getting some thumbs up from that women's 2V boat. All right, looks like the Tufts women's 8 is pretty far ahead of baits right now. Shreya coxing her boat, staying in that line. And in this boat, like I said before, we have Leisha Sun sitting in the stroke seat, Natalie Graham sitting behind her in 7. We've got Alicia Coble in 6, Brooke Thompson in 5, Molly Heaney in 4, Sophie Cummings in 3, Sophia Brackett in 2, and Ashna Gargpati in bow. Now this is a Bates 3V boat. They look quite locked in right now. You can see both coxswains' lines are pretty straight, consistent. Now this is the type of race in which the coxswain did get a little bit over to one side. It might be okay because the margin is large enough that it wouldn't inhibit the race. Looks like Tufts coxswain Tria is definitely taking more of her starboard side. Now this Bates boat isn't taking the straightest line, I would say. You can kind of see in her line it's a little bit wiggly. But Tufts is far ahead enough that she has space to maneuver around. Sometimes you don't really want that with your coxswains though. You want to keep a straight line because that just adds distance for the crews, making it a longer race for them and adding time onto their finish time. You can see the Tufts boat pretty far ahead right now. They're about 25 meters from the finish line, I would say. And they finish. Next up, we have the 4v8 race on the women's side. Wesleyan and Wellesley, I believe, going in first. Actually, I think Bates only has 3-8, so Tufts might be rowing first and then just racing Wesleyan in the second heat later in this afternoon. It's pretty uncommon for teams to have 5-8, so Tufts has a pretty large squad on both the men's and women's side. As we'll see later, the 5Vs will be racing either themselves or just one other boat. Just sort of speaks to the depth and desire for everyone to want to be on this team and be a part of Tufts rowing. Now, I'm not sure what's going on up here. Oh, it looks like now those crews to the left are non-Tufts or Nescat crews. I believe it's Wentworth docking their teams. Unsure, but not part of our race today. I'd be taking these coxswains a little while to get situated up at the start line as the wind sort of picks up. It's also windier up at the start line because it's past this sort of protected part of the river, so sometimes it takes a little bit more time to get adjusted, make sure the boats are aligned. The inside lane up there actually is a little bit behind the outside lane due to advantages. Behind us, we've got a Bates men's boat coming up. I believe this is Bates' last race of the day because they raced earlier against Wesleyan. Yeah, and then Tufts will be racing Wesleyan later today. So Wesleyan has a big break on the men's side. I'm assuming that the Bates team stayed overnight. It's pretty far for them to come from Maine. They have a race tomorrow as well, I believe.
All right, coach, just heads up, got a race coming down. Heads up, we got a race coming down.
Huh. Yeah. Now it looks like the Tufts 4V is on the outside lane. Definitely at least a boat length ahead, I believe, of Wellesley. We have Sophie Nowitzki coxing this boat. Ashley Brzezinski stroking Zanani. Miesco behind her. And then behind her, I believe, boat's looking great, actually. We have Grace Hamilton, a senior from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Alex Timoney behind Grace. Sheelin Farr in 4 seats. Jonna Rao in 3 seats. Stella Shen in 2 seats. And Cecilia Wilson in bow. Yeah, I mean, they're at probably 2 boat lengths ahead of Wellesley at this point. Just going to keep crushing it all the way through the race, it seems. Coxswain Sophie Nowitzki is doing a great job with her line. Sophie Nowitzki's a seasoned pro as a junior. She coxed this year's head of the Charles boats. Did a great job. Got the Tufts 3V docking right now. They look pretty excited about their races. Shreya did a great job. Alicia's son stroked that boat. Her brother actually stroking the 2V today on the men's side. It's a little bit windier here on the launch, but clouds are parting, so the sun is definitely making it warm. Looks like the Tufts women's 4th varsity 8 is about 3 to 4 boat lengths ahead right now. Once they hit this dock, they'll start their 300-meter sprint, finish out the race strong. Fell up there. Sophie Novitsky's keeping her line, doing a great job. Strong finish from Tufts. He's in his head races, so they're a bit longer, and you take your time with the stroke rate closer to a 30-32. But in the spring, the race is not great. And I believe this looks like a men's boat coming down. You can see their blades getting in the water. I think this might be Tufts versus Bates. Is that correct? Maybe. It looks like our blades. Yeah, I think Aiden Koosh is on the outside lane, coxing his men's first varsity 8. In that boat, we've actually got a good number of seniors and 2 grad students, Ryan Hankins and Nick Aranda. Nick Aranda stroking that boat. I believe Ryan Hankins is in 5 seat, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so we've got Aiden Koosh coxing that 1V boat. Looks like they're about 6 seats ahead of Bates right now. We've got Nick Aranda stroking, Max Nussbaum in 7.